Hi everybody, my name's Dom Davies. I'm a senior lecturer in English at City University of London, and a couple of years ago I finished a postdoctoral fellowship at the British Academy looking at comics and graphic novels produced by artists especially in cities across the global south. But today I've taken 3 books off my bookshelf that I think make for especially interesting and relevant reading during the lockdown. So for my first recommendation, I'm going to take Guy Delisle's Jerusalem, Chronicles from the Holy City. Guy Delisle is a French-Canadian comics artist. He writes in French, but many of his comics are translated into English. He's a huge figure in the field. And he's well known for his travel logs of various places, including Burma and China. But in Jerusalem, as it should be indicated perhaps by the subtitle, Chronicles, he undertakes quite an interesting experience of a year spent in the city while his wife works for MSF. So it's a kind of autobiography, or even a diary. Now, Delisle is an artist, and he's in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, known for its historic sites. And he wants to go and draw them. And what follows is really a year of him trying to draw the city of Jerusalem. So the comic becomes not just a series of pictures of the city, but really a series of pictures about trying to draw a city that is so divided, actually, and so fragmented. So what we see here is this kind of beautiful city on the surface. Delisle quickly discovers, as he begins to try and find sites to draw, that actually it's quite difficult to move through this city, even for him, with a Western passport. He's living in East Jerusalem, and he finds himself going to see the separation barrier in the West Bank, and also going to parts of the old city. And a year is enough time to get to know the very complex geopolitical and local spatial dynamics. But what Delisle's real kind of contribution to this conversation is to sort of visualize really through the medium of comics, which is all about the spatial tensions of Jerusalem and how that's felt differently by different people. And also because he's trying to see things, to draw things, to actually draw our attention to the kind of the ethics of looking even. What does it mean to expect that you can walk through and view a city? And the comic really uses this, is really innovative, I think, in its very sort of stifling, almost kind of claustrophobic spatial movement. It never really goes anywhere, but we're constantly trying to get somewhere. That it conveys something of the frustration of that city, and perhaps, obviously the frustration of a Palestinian trying to move through the West Bank is not comparable to quarantine. But there's some interesting affective resonances between those kinds of the constraints put on our experiences of time and space that are captured in this comic. And my second recommendation is another graphic novel by Guy Delisle, a slightly different approach, not in fact a travelogue for which he's most famous, but a sort of a non-fiction account of the experience of an NGO worker who was taken hostage. There is very little context to the story provided by Delisle in this book, and really it is an experiment in what comics can do with time and space, and really exploring how when we're confined to a single room for months, if not years, how our experience of time and space warps, and how comics can capture that through tiny little movements like the shading of a panel to indicate the sun coming up, or a shift of perspective to show how nothing changes but time has passed. Because this is a fundamental representational dilemma. How do you tell a story in which nothing happens and yet time is moving? And Delisle's real kind of genius as an artist is to capture that passing of time through these very beautiful, very subtle, very gentle perspectival shifts and angles between panels. And we really see how time is elongated out on the page in this book. And then last but not least, I want to briefly mention Richard McGuire's Here, which is really one of the most remarkable graphic novels of the 21st century, and I think most comics critics would agree, and many literary critics too, that what McGuire achieves is astonishing. Now, not unlike Guy Delisle's Hostage, McGuire's comic never actually moves spatially. It stays fixed on the same kind of plot of land, really, extending from almost 6 billion BC, so the beginning of the creation of the world, of our Earth, through to about 3,000 or 4,000 years into our future. The title gestures that, we're not moving spatially, we are here, we're firmly rooted to a specific spot on Earth. And yet, McGuire muddles with our experience of time by overlaying different temporal moments that have happened in the same space and drawing them into his same kind of central panel that repeats throughout the comic. So this is a very counterintuitive way of reading. But for us in lockdown, when we've been in the same room perhaps, or the same couple of rooms for 6 or 7 weeks, it gets us thinking about, what was here before, and not just what was here before, last week or 10 weeks ago or 10 years ago, but what was here before, a million years ago, or indeed a billion years ago. And it raises all kinds of questions about how we as humans arrange the world and how we see the world. We're so used to thinking in a kind of linear narrative of, I did this and then I did that, and we don't see the cause and effect between things, for example, such as burning coal and climate change, because that's beyond our usual scales, if you like, of imagination, of cause and effect, and our sort of beyond our normal narrative scales. So suddenly, shaking up the way that we arrange time as space on a page, and this is something that comics and graphic novels is kind of, it's built into their formal DNA, if you like, can allow us to actually maybe tell stories in ways that are increasingly important for our future as a species and for the future of our planet. So there you have it. There are my lockdown Shelfie recommendations for lockdown. I hope you enjoy them if you can get hold of one or more of them. My name's Dom Davies. You can reach me on Twitter at Dr. Dom Davies or at dominic.davies@city.ac.uk. I'd love to hear your take on these books. Thanks for watching.